The seed collector. I remember the day they laughed at me as if it were yesterday. The sun filtered through the kitchen window, casting a golden glow over the breakfast table, but it felt like shadows strangled the warmth. My family's chattering laughter filled the air, a melody of mockery that pierced deeper than any knife. Cursed plants? Really, Amelia? You're going to disgrace us with your delusions? My mother's voice trembled with disdain, while my father scoffed, his fork clattering against his plate as he let out a mocking chuckle. Back then, I was just a young botanist, a fervent believer that beneath every leaf, beneath every seed, lay untold mysteries, even curses. I had unearthed ancient seeds, seeds that whispered of doom. My claims about the bizarre, fatal growths I witnessed in the test fields were dismissed as wild fantasies, the ramblings of an unhealthy mind. They deemed me insane. I left that home with a heart full of despair, but buried beneath it all was a resolute ember of determination. If I was going to be a disgrace, then I would embrace that role. I would shed their scorn like a snake shedding skin and dive deep into the world of forbidden botany, the world that they would never understand. Years passed in isolation. I traveled to forgotten ruins and overgrown gardens, where the cursed plants thrived away from judgmental eyes. I delved into the realms of folklore and local superstitions, unearthing the dark tales that others chose to ignore. Every whispered warning, every chilling legend fueled my research. I learned to tend to these supernatural flora, to cultivate what others feared. Each botanical curse I encountered bore witness to the inexplicable bond between nature and the grotesque, a duality that danced on the edge of madness. Then came the day that would change everything. I stood before an audience, now sober scholars and intrigued skeptics, delivering a lecture on my findings about the anathema seed, a rare flora that thrived on negative energy, feeding off despair and anguish. My once ridiculed obsession had transformed into a celebrated academic pursuit. Whispers of my name echoed in the hallowed halls of botanical research, yet the specter of my family's laughter still haunted me. But vindication held a cost, a terrible, chilling cost. Months later, I received an unexpected call. My mother's voice trembled on the line, drenched in urgency. "You need to come home, Amelia. Something's wrong." The dread in her tone pierced through the accolades I had gathered, tugging at old wounds. I returned home, my heart thrumming with an anxious rhythm that matched the pulse of the earth beneath my feet. Upon entering the derelict family home, a chill settled around me. The walls, once vibrant with memories, dripped with shadows. "Mom? Dad?" My voice echoed into the void. No answer came, only the creak of floorboards and the rustle of something ancient and dusty. And there they stood, hunched in the living room, their faces pale as moonlight. They were watching something unfurling in the garden. A once pristine space now overrun with grotesque vegetation, a chaotic tapestry of twisted vines and sinister blooms. The horrifying beauty of it all ignited a fierce dread in my gut. "Amelia," my mother's voice trembled, full of something I hadn't expected, fear. My gaze shifted to the garden. A wicked vine reared back, as if it had a mind of its own, its tendrils glistening with dew that mirrored tears. The anathema seed had taken root, its intoxicating fragrance wafting through the air, promising revelation, yet cloaked in malice. I felt an unsettling stir of power, the kind I had never wished to unleash. Wretched laughter echoed from the vines, a cacophony of voices, cries of anguish intertwining with my parents' horrified gasps. The garden had become a living entity, feeding on years of scorn and disbelief, thriving on the very energy of my family's mockery. "Amelia, please, you have to do something." My father's voice cracked, the bravado he had shown so many years ago evaporating. With every ounce of strength I stepped forward, the realization dawning upon me. I was no longer the ridicule. I was its keeper. My hands trembled as I reached toward the vine, whispering soothing words I had learned from the ancient texts. "You're safe now," I murmured. "You're home." The vine pulsated, its tendrils curling around my wrist as if recognizing me, welcoming me back. But my family stood paralyzed, faces drained of color, as they witnessed the manifestation of their disbelief. They had mocked me for years, but now the horror of my research had come home, a nightmarish reminder of the price of their scorn. In a flash, the vine lunged, ensnaring my father's arm. He let out a scream that shattered the silence, but instead of terror, I felt a strange calm wash over me. "This is what you sowed," I whispered, the words barely leaving my lips. As the cries of my parents filled the air, I understood the truth. I had sought to prove them wrong. But in that moment, I realized I had become their reckoning. The cursed flora fed on their fears, their regrets, and their disbelief. They were witnessing the profound terror of a world they had chosen to ignore, a nightmare crafted from their own derision. And as they writhed in anguish, I stood bearing witness to the consequences of their ignorance. The garden, once my sanctuary, had transformed into a tableau of poetic justice. I was the seed collector, now crowned not with accolades but a haunting truth that echoed through the years. When you laugh at the darkness, you may find it laughing back, growing stronger in the void of your disbelief. As the laughter of the anathema seed entwined with my family's cries, I stepped back into the shadows, finally free of the burdens of a past that had sought to define me. I returned to my research, no longer seeking validation, but understanding, a dark knowledge that whispered through the leaves, a knowledge I would carry forever. And as I walked away from the chaos that had unfolded, the air thick with regret, I realized I had paid the ultimate price for my freedom. My family had learned the truth too late, and I was left with my newfound solitude, haunted by their faces contorted in terror, a living illustration of what it meant to laugh in the face of the unknown. I had returned to the horrors of my past, and now I was their keeper.